Come on and cry me a river. Cry me a river. I cried a river over
Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to this. We're starting already with some glitches in OBS, at least in my end. So let's see how it goes. How are you doing? I hope you're doing fine and well. Today, I have an article and an expost I want to read to you or with you. So, let's go into it right now. First one in line, we have mind wandering enhances the brain's ability to learn hidden patterns, new study suggests, by the SciPost. No, by Eric W. Dolan. From the SciPost. So, let's go. And the second one is about dreams. Why we dream, or something like that. Let's go with the first one. Mind wandering and patterns, and the ability to find patterns. When our thoughts drift away from the task at hand, our brains might actually become better at unconsciously picking up hidden patterns in our environment. A new study to be published in the journal Neuroscience of Consciousness provides evidence that the momentary lapses in self-control that occur during mind wandering create a unique mental state that enhances our ability to learn automatic routines. So, dissociating helps to find patterns in your life. These findings suggest that daydreaming is not simply a failure of attention, but a functional shift that helps the brain absorb complex information. I believe the movements in the eyes are exactly the same. The eyes has to go very randomly in the space so he can register more accurately what's happening. Mind wandering happens when our attention shifts from external tasks to internal thoughts, like reflecting on past events or planning for the weekend. Like in a conversation, right? When someone is talking to another person, one of them is listening, but more than listening is thinking what he's gonna say after the other person finished talk. So something like that, I believe. This mental state is typically associated with reduced cognitive performance, including slower reading comprehension and an inability to maintain sustained attention. At the same time, recent research suggests that this zoning out can provide unexpected cognitive benefits, particularly for a process known as implicit statistical learning. What a name! Implicit statistical learning is the brain's ability to unconsciously detect and internalize repeating patterns and probabilities in our surroundings. So it's also a predictive analytic machine, such as the predictable structure of spoken language or the sequence of a physical action. Ah, cool. So we learn other language this way as well. Mind wandering is usually described as a failure of attention, said Dezső Nemeth, a director of research at INSERM, at the Centre de Recherche en Neurosciences de Lyon in France, and the Gran Canaria Cognitive Research Center at Universidad del Atlántico Medio in Spain. And in many situations, that is true. When our thoughts drift away from the task, we often make more mistakes, respond more impulsively, and lose track of what we are supposed to be doing. Nemeth explained that their previous work suggested a more complicated picture. We found that mind wandering can sometimes be linked to better implicit statistical learning, Nemeth said. In other words, when people are not fully focused on the task, they may still be picking up hidden patterns in the environment without being aware that they are learning. That paradox fascinated us. Nemeth continued. We wanted to know whether these two effects are actually connected. Could the same temporary weakening of executive control that makes people worse at inhibiting responses also make the brain more open to learning probabilistic patterns in the background? Okay, I have to read that again. Very big phrase. Could the same temporary Could the same temporary weakening of executive control that makes people worse at inhibiting responses also make the brain more open to learning probabilistic patterns in the background? So, when you dissociate, are you also learning some sophisticated patterns from your surrounding? I will rephrase it like that. A framework known as the neurocompetition model proposes that our brain's effortful, goal-directed processes actually compete with our automatic, unconscious learning systems for shared mental resources. Cool! I believe is 95% of brain activity is unconscious. So, let's continue. Executive control involves the top-down cognitive processes that allow us to focus, plan, and override impulses. Yes, the conscious mind. So, are they independent phenomena or related? Nemeth asked. This study was designed to test that idea directly. To evaluate this complex interplay, the scientists recruited university students to complete an online experiment. After removing participants who did not follow instructions or met certain exclusion criteria, the final sample consisted of 240 healthy young adults with an average age of about 22. The participants completed a specialized exercise called the Cognitive Trade-off Task, which was designed to measure self-control, pattern recognition, and current state of mind, or metacognition, simultaneously. During the task, participants watched images of dog or cat heads appear in one of 4 horizontal positions on a computer screen. For the majority of the trails, known as Go Trails, participants were instructed to quickly press a keyboard key corresponding to the location of the animal. However, for certain specific images, known as no-go trials, participants had to suppress their urge to react and withhold their key press entirely. This specific measure evaluated response inhibition. Yes, which is the brain's ability to quickly cancel or restrict an impulsive behavioral action. Unbeknownst to the participants, the appearance of the image was not entirely random. The locations followed a hidden probabilistic sequence where every second trial was a part of a repeating pattern, while the alternate trials appeared in random location. Because of this alternating structure, certain three-item sequences known as triplets happened much more frequently than others. By measuring how much faster participants responded to the highly probable triplets compared to the rare ones, the researchers could calculate a precise score for implicit statistical learning. Wow, who came with this idea? Very well done. Across the entire task, there were 64 distinct possible triplets, but only 16 of these were high probability sequences. In total, 62.5% of the trials ended in a high probability sequence, while the remaining 37.5% ended in a low probability sequence. This uneven distribution allowed the scientists to accurately track how the brain adapts to environmental predictability over time. The researchers found that as the task progressed, participants reported increasing amounts of mind wandering. During the periods when participants reported that their minds had wandered, their response inhibition significantly declined. They made more errors on the no-go trials, demonstrating a temporary breakdown in top-down cognitive control. What surprised us most was not just that mind-wandering was linked to the better statistical learning, Nemeth told SciPost. It was found that this benefit depended on inhibitory control. So, in hypnosis, what we want to do is to distract the conscious mind so we can communicate better with the unconscious mind and deliver therapeutic message, sort of say. So this makes, once again, neuroscience and hypnosis makes a lot of sense together. Very interesting. Okay. Dissociation rules. Dissociation is the most important hypnotic phenomenon that helps people to get better, to improve, because either you are fixated with something and you have to learn to dissociate with that you are fixated with, or yes, that's one. No? You have to dissociate with or from an over-fixated point, right? That's dissociation. If I eat too much, I'm too dissociated with my body because I don't feel the sensation of being satisfied with my belly full, right? Full of food. So I'm dissociating myself from my body, and that caused a problem. So I have to associate again and feel more the sensations of my body. I hope that makes sense. Let's go to the next one. By Idesham Ali at Idesham 2005. A Stanford neuroscientist published a paper a few years ago that quietly answered one of the oldest questions in human history, and almost nobody outside his field has heard of it. Okay, that sounds cool. The question is why we dream. Know what we dream. Know what dreams mean. Why they exist at all. Why your brain spends a third of its sleep hallucinating images instead of just resting like every other organ in your body. His name is David Eagleman. He runs a lab at Stanford. The paper is called the Defensive Activation Theory. Defensive Activation Theory. And the moment you read it, the explanation collapses every other theory you have ever been taught about dreams. Freud said dreams were repressed desires. He was guessing. He had no brain scans. He had no electrodes. He had a couch and a notebook and a century of credibility that nobody has been able to fully scrap off the subject since. So, first definition, repressed desires. Modern neuroscience replaced him with the memory consolidation theory. The idea that dreams are your brain sorting through the day, feeling things away, deciding what to keep. That story is partially true. Sleep does consolidate memory. Yeah. I would love to see an animation of the oscillations that happens in the brain while we are consolidating memory. I read it once here with you and it was amazing trying to visualize that phenomenon. Let's continue. But it does not explain the single strangest thing about dreams, which is that they are almost entirely visual. Do they? I didn't know that. That's new for me. You do not dream in pure sound. You do not dream in taste. You do not dream in smell. You dream in pictures, vivid, detailed, often impossible pictures that activate the back of your brain so hard a scientist scanning you would think your eyes were wide open. Eagleman started from one fact almost nobody outside neuroscience knows. The brain is territorial. Every region holds its turf through constant electrical activity. The moment a region goes quiet, its neighbors start invading. Ooh! They take the silent territory and reassign it to themselves. Wow. This is called cortical takeover, and it's not slow. It is not a long process measured in years. In experiments where adults are blindfolded, the visual cortex starts processing touch and sound within an hour. 1 hour of darkness, and the territory is already being annexed. Whoa! In congenitally blind people, the visual cortex is fully repurposed. It runs language, it runs hearing, it runs touch, The hardware never went unused. it was just reassigned to whoever showed up first. Now, sit with the implication of that for a second. I'm loving this post. Every night, when you close your eyes and fall asleep, the sun has set, the planet has rotated, the visual cortex, which takes up roughly a third of your entire cortex, is suddenly receiving zero input for 8 hours every single night for your entire life. And evolution has shaped your brain inside a planet that has been spinning into darkness for billions of years. If cortical takeover happens in an hour, the visual cortex should have been lost a long time ago. Stolen by hearing, stolen by touch, reassigned by morning. Humans should have evolved into a species whose vision works fine during the day and then degrades every time the sun goes down because the territory keeps getting renegotiated overnight. But that did not happen. Vision works the moment you open your eyes, which means something is defending the territory while you sleep. Eagleman's claim is that dreams are that defense. Okay, wow. Oh, people are smart here in this planet. Every 90 minutes, through the night, a precise burst of activity fires from the brainstem into the visual cortex. Pontigeniculate occipital waves, PGO for short. They are anatomically aimed. They are not general arousal. They are a targeted volley of signal launched directly at the back of the brain where vision lives. The cortex lights up as if it is receiving real images, and you experience that artificial activation as a dream. The bizarre narrative your conscious mind invents around it later is just your brain trying to make sense of the noise. I'm not sure totally about that, because dreams and predictive analytics are very, very correlated, let's say. But let's continue. The dream is not the point. The dream is the side effect. The point is keeping the territory occupied. The evidence for this is that part that should haunt you. Let's see. Newborns spend roughly 50% of their sleep in REM. Ooh, REM is rapid eye movement, because we are visualizing images, right? Adults, adults spend 20% of 8 hours is... Okay, I don't have the maths in my mind. Old adults spend 15. The amount of dreaming you do tracks almost perfectly with how plastic your brain is. Newborns have the most plastic brains on Earth. Their visual cortex is in the highest danger of being overrun by neighboring senses while it develops. So, evolution gave them an enormous defense budget. As you age, your brain becomes less plastic, takeover risk drops, and the defense system scales down accordingly. Eagleman and his co-author ran the same correlation across 25 primate species. The more plastic a species' brain, the higher the proportion of REM sleep. The relationship held across the entire primate family tree. Plasticity and dreaming move together. They are true halves of the same evolutionary equation. A species that ranks higher on flexibility and learning also dreams more. That sounds beautiful. A species that is born ready to walk and survive dreams less. Plasticity is the asset. Dreaming is the insurance premium. And the prediction the theory makes is that one that quietly closes the case. Of all your senses, only one is disadvantaged by darkness. Oh, you can still hear in the dark. You can still feel in the dark. You can still smell and taste in the dark. The only sense that depends on light is vision, which is exactly the sense your dreams are made of, mainly at least. The defense system is targeted at the only territory that is actually vulnerable while you sleep. Wow. Memory consolidation is real. Emotional processing is real. Your brain does do those things at night, but Eagleman's argument is that those functions piggyback on a much older system whose original job was simpler and more brutal. Keep the lights on inside the visual cortex while the planet is dark, or lose it. For thousands of years, people have asked what dreams mean. Prophets wrote about them. Poets wrote about them. Freud built a discipline on them. None of them had access to the actual answer, which is that dreams may not mean anything in the symbolic sense at all. I don't think so, but I respect these texts so much that I want to continue. They may be the visible flicker of a defense system running in the background. The way a screensaver protects a monitor by keeping the pixels moving even when nobody is looking. Beautiful metaphor or analogy, rather. The strangest thing, or metaphor, I'm not sure. The strangest thing about the theory is how cleanly it explains why dreams feel so real. That's true. Your visual cortex cannot tell the difference between a PGO wave and an actual photon. It is the same hardware lining up the same way. The cortex does its job. It builds an image. Your conscious mind, half awake, wraps a story around it and calls it a dream. You're not seeing your subconscious tonight. You're watching your brain defend a piece of itself from being stolen by other piece of itself. Every animal that has ever closed its eyes on this planet has done the same thing. Wow! But the question is, so, do blind people dream? And we have the author answering kindly, yes, blind people dream, but people born blind usually dream through non-visual senses. People who became blind later can still see in dreams because their brain already learned visual experience before blindness. Okay, thank you very much. What a fantastic text from Mr. Investor, writer, educator, and a Dragon Ball fan. Okay, cool. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode of today, of this emission. Thank you very much for being here. I wish you a fantastic day, rest of the day, and see you the next one.
Come